Okay, welcome to this free clearing event. I've noticed that lately a lot of people are needing help, and that's what I do, is help people up level. My name's Lisa Long with lisalong.com and Enlightened Life Academy, and I also have Enlightened Life Entertainment. If you want to look at any of the things, I want to bring enlightened consciousness to the world through the movie industry. So that's, but I don't mind, I mean, through books, through movies, wherever I can bring it, works for me. Path of least resistance, right? So what was your question again, Sandra? So that I can answer it. Hi, Kat.
Yeah, my question touched on when you described the part of your life with Michael, when the two of you were working at such a high level, if those are different portals or openings, like at different stages of your life.
Yeah, they are. And what happens is you just become that energy, so it doesn't feel high level anymore because you are that level, right? So you move up, and then you clear the stuff that comes up. So if you go from, most people, I use it like a megahertz. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just a term, but it's like third dimension, 3,000 megahertz, fourth dimension, 4,000, fifth dimension, 5,000. And most people are third, but they're waking up into fourth, but there's less people. It's like a pyramid. And then there's less people into fifth. By the time you're up there, you're more teaching, because you can hold the field. And as you move up, the old belief systems and old thought forms that are in your body and stuff that can't, and in your energy field and around, that can't maintain that vibration, they either disappear, burn away, or they come up to clear, right? They come up, do you want to keep this or let it go? They come up and you have to deal with it. And then it's in your face, you have to make a choice. And then you clear it, and then you get to another level and more stuff comes up. So something that, if you're vibrating at, say, 3,500 megahertz, and then you're at 4,000, the stuff at 3,500 comes up to clear, and you clear it. And then you feel, well, I'm clear. And then you go to 4,500, and then stuff that you thought was high level before comes up because your level's higher, so there's more to clear. So it's a constant up leveling of our consciousness and our bodies and our DNA and our consciousness. It was dumbed down for thousands of years here, the DNA and the consciousness. So we've had a lot of shoveling to get that stuff out of who we are. I should put this on. Oh, good, I got it on speaker. So yeah, it's I don't know how long it I mean, I think it goes forever, because we're constantly expanding towards source, and you know how big the universes are. It's like, it seems like we could be doing this forever. And there's so many planets to play on, places to go and visit and play on and incarnate. I mean, this is like a huge playground. It's just humans forgot they were playing, and they thought they had to struggle and suffer and earn God's approval. And that was part of the dumbing down process. But what it did is it created a challenging, like a video game, right? So if you're this big master and you're millions or billions of years old and you've been all over the place and done all this stuff, you get bored. And so they'd say, oh, hey, there's this planet over there and it's really dense. It's really a challenge. It's like, a new video game. You want to go over there and play that one? Like, sure, let's go to that dense planet. And then we get here and we're like, shit. This was denser than we thought. And a lot of us thought we'd be done I don't know, eons ago.
Mm.
We're still, but this is the fun
Oh.
part right now, right? This is it. This is the Great Awakening. And the more of us that realize everything and understand the concepts and who we are, then it makes it easier to get to the next level. It's like a mastermind group, even though you might not be, because there's group mind fields.
Mm-hmm.
And there are also group mind fields, M-I-N-E. So the group mind fields are around Earth. And those are dense belief systems. Yeah. There are dense belief systems that, like anywhere you get into an agreement, I'm Republican, I'm Democrat, I'm Christian, I'm Buddhist, I'm a woman, I'm a human, you're limiting yourself, right? So I'm currently experiencing being a female woman, human woman, but that's not who I am. Oh, it's laughing for 111. So I'm currently experiencing this experience, right? I'm choosing this experience. I'm playing this character, but it's not who I am. That's why when you say I am, it's the I am. It's not I am this or I am that, or unless you're moving into that field. Like if you don't think if they put you down and said you can't write and you're no good and you don't have any creativity or anything when you're little, then you might want to go, I'm a writer, I'm a good writer, I'm a very good writer, and to get yourself through some of that resistance, right? But when you're really high level, you're just an I am. And I am presence. Because it's our consciousness of presence focused into the material plane in a point. Because we are the whole material plane, right? We are everything physical. We are everything non-physical. We're everything in existence. That's who we really are. But in order to have this experience, we had to focus into the experience. So if you're like playing a video game, and that's why kids just know shit, and that the games, that's why they're bigger than movies now. Did you know they're spending more money on video games and stuff? And it's because they go like you make a character. Do any of you play a video game? Oh man, so much fun. And it's so much like you make a character and you give it a personality, and it has these superpowers and it wears these clothes and it's dressed like this or that. Most games you can change your character. And the ones with the really big boobs that are half naked are usually 14-year-old boys. Right? They make a big boobed woman, like, girl. Funny. You can make animals. It just depends on the game. And then you play that character and you're focusing in on this video game, and that character's running around mountains and climbing and giant and fighting things. And I don't like first-person shooters that all you see is a gun. I don't like those. I like the kind where you're adventuring and doing stuff like that. I mean, you still have to fight stuff, otherwise it'd be boring. But there's no blood in the ones I play. The people just disappear or whatever, right? You hit them and they disappear. And there's instant reincarnation. Like if you get, in the old days, you'd play the game and you'd die, and then you'd have to wait like 20 seconds and you go back to the hospital and you come back in, and then you get healed. Now there's just instant reincarnation. Just come right back, right? So they're fun. It's all part of. Oh, the thing I really like about them is the reinforcement. They're constantly reinforcing that you did good. You get this badge, you get that badge. You leveled up to a higher level. You leveled up to a higher level. And then the characters talk to you and call you savior or call you master or winner, and so the little kids that are playing these video games are all getting this reinforcement, and a lot of us didn't get that when we were little. Men did. A lot of men did. They go to boys. When I took my kids to Boy Scouts, they got all these badges. They kept getting all these reinforcements. So then I started a Girl Scout troop, and we did some of that, but it's not near as formal as the Boy Scouts. They're constantly getting kudos about how great they are. And I thought, oh, women need that. And I did not get that as a woman, as a kid, as a girl, right? So that when you play the video games, you're constantly, even the ones you get on iPad or the iPhone, there's one called Flow Free. It's just start playing with, that one's free. It's called Flow Free. And they don't give you the reinforcements. It's not a character, but it keeps your brain sharp. Right? It keeps your synapses. And when you get up to the more difficult video games, there's a lot of puzzles to solve that you have to really think about. So it keeps your mind sharp, right? And they're all different. So find something that you want to do. It's like my little girl, she wanted to, when I was 58, I felt like I was really gonna die. I mean, I was out of shape. I didn't feel good. I'm like, I was unhappy with a lot of stuff. And my little girl kept going, let's go outside. Let's go outside. I want to go outside and play, my inner child. And I'm like, no, gotta work. So I'm sitting there on the computer feeling heavier and heavier. Finally, I'm like, well, fuck it. I'm just going to go outside and play. And so I started walking up the hill, and then she'd be like, oh, I want to climb a rock. And I'd be like, I don't know if I want to be climbing these. I mean, they're giant boulders. And I'd climbing these giant boulders. But I'd get on top of the boulder and I'd have this rush, which is alignment with your higher self. It's like this, I did it. I made it to the top of the boulder, right? I climbed this mountain. And so then I started getting healthier and healthier. And then I started running. And then I ran in 5-mile races. And so because I got everything flowing and I aligned with what my higher self wanted, which was, we're here to have fun, we're here to play. And when you run high level energy, and that's why I don't feel guilty about playing video games. Right? I'm off work, I'm gonna go play a video game. I go watch movies too, but sometimes it's a lot more fun to play a video game because you're in the movie. And nowadays there is high quality as movies. You're literally running around mountains and stuff, and it's almost like you're there. It's really cool. Wow. And so when you do things that make you happy, it puts you on a higher vibration, and you attract higher level people, and you attract people and you attract thoughts and feelings from a high vibration. But when you're on a lower vibration, you attract that, right? So if you're suffering and feeling heavy, you're attracting suffering and feeling heavy. So you got to break the pattern however you can. And so you stop the pattern by going outside, taking a walk, going getting iced tea or a beer or whatever you want. Start following those impulses. They're little impulses. They're very, and like when I run, I go out the front door and I feel, do I want to go left or do I want to go right? Which feels lighter? Does it feel lighter to go this way or that way? Because it's even every little thing is light, heavy, light, heavy, light, heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Does this feel lighter or heavier? Because your higher self is always up here. Your higher self's always on the highest level, lightest flow, easiest path. So if you're doing something and it's heavy, 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 then stop. Do something else, break the pattern, and then come back. Like if you're writing and it gets really heavy, then stop. Because you're just writing stuff that's just going to be heavy, and it's not going to attract what you want in your life. So that's the whole thing. The whole thing is light, heavy, light, heavy, light, heavy. And then the thoughts, Earth had so many thousands of years of humans. See, we're all God. So all those humans were popping out thoughts. And those thoughts a lot of them were low level. And that's why this is a challenging place, because those thoughts think, they float around and they think. And they want to maintain their existence. So what they do is they try to, it's law of attraction. So if somebody's feeling not good enough, then that little thought comes along and goes, oh, not good enough. You're not good enough. And it starts to stick. And if you go, oh, that's not me, then the thought bounces off. But, or if you grab it and just say into the light, little boogie, which is what I teach, into the light, so that it doesn't just float around Earth, right? And then it goes home and it's happy because it goes back to source energy, which is neutral. And then it's a neutrality. And so, I mean, source is bliss and love and light, but the thoughts come in and we color them whichever color we want. But the ones that are here that float around and that got stuck in the old DNA and the old human bodies and shit, and that you inherit from your parents, are usually low-level thought forms. And so you just disown them. Not mine, not mine, not mine. Into the light, into the light, into the light. Can you guys feel that? The energy running? Into the light, into the light, into the light, into the light. It's coming up the back of the neck. See how my hand's shaking? It's running energy. So you send all that into the light, and then your house, you put a big white light bubble around, and you don't put it around to protect you. Because if you think you need protection, you draw in stuff to be protected from. But you put it around as, this is my sacred space. This is my holy space. And only things of the highest light of Christ consciousness or above are allowed here. So you can say the Buddha consciousness, whatever consciousness you want. And then people will feel a field, and they'll either be repelled or they'll be called in, right? According to what their level is. And so you do that around your space, and I do it all the way into the ground, like a circle, like a bubble. But you don't go into the neighbor's yard, because then their mind's going to be fighting your mind. So you just go like an inch in the wall if you're in an apartment, so that your space is sacred. But and then you go above, right, as high as you want and as low as you want, and and you hold that field enough that what happens is it just goes on autopilot. So for me, I don't have to do that like daily. I used to have to do that daily. And the same thing with clearing. I used to have to do that all like 20 times a day. Clear, clear, clear. Now I'm just, it's on autopilot. So anything that's not of the light gets transmuted into the light, or it's just not attracted to me at all, right? I'm above it. So I don't hear those low-level thought forms anymore. But they plagued me for 30 years or more. Because I was raised in the fear field. My mom was scared of everything, struggle, but when you get above it, they can't even see you. You don't exist in their reality because you're vibrating on a different dimension. And sometimes you can be invisible. You can be in an elevator and people won't even notice you're there because you're on a different dimension. You can see them, but a lot of times they can't see you unless you talk to them or something, right? So it's you know, you still be careful. Don't cross the street and go, I'm on a different dimension and that is going to bother me. No, you're still in your body's in the material plane. So you still be careful and well, not careful, but you still be aware. Use your awareness that you're in a body, you're in a human body. And there's certain things, and you need food. Your body needs food and stuff like that. And that's kind of, when you get in flow, a lot of times you can just go without eating for a long time. Then you're like, oh shit, my body needs some attention. So it's becoming aware of where you're at and what you're doing. And yeah, when we were so high level, when my partner and I got together, it was just, well, even before that, because before that I went to Egypt with my ex, and the daggers were hitting me. I mean, I could see it was like watching arrows fly at me and hit me. Daggers and everything, and arrows, and I did a lot of clearing. And Egypt is amazing. If you ever been there, has anybody ever been there? Oh my God. Egypt, if you're a little psychic, you go to Egypt, you're really psychic. It's like, whoa. And it's very masculine. Like I woke up next to the pyramid, thump, 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 and I'm like, what the hell? Where the hell am I? And then I realized I was in Egypt, right? Like the first night I woke up there, because or morning, because the power in the pyramid is so strong. You can just feel it. Boom, boom, boom. And I went in the pyramid. We rented the pyramid a couple of times, private events, for our private event. And I was with Barbara Marciniak and a bunch of high-level people there. And I walked in, and there's 3 or 4 or 20 people behind me, right? And all at once I stopped, because all these dudes were standing in the pyramid with these orbs and stuff to give to me. And I'm like, whoa. And they're like, hi, blah, blah, blah. And all these people are like hitting me in the butt, because you're going through this, you're crawling up through this whole thing, and you're crawling in, and then boom, I could see these guys in the pyramid, and they were all talking to me. So I had to kind of go off to the side to talk to them and everything. Yeah, it was cool. That was 30 years ago, I think. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of things that I've experienced. Like I had a guy come to my house and blow light out of his body. I might have told you about that. Man of light. You can Google it. He's on the other side now. But yeah, there's a lot of things you can experience that are beyond most people's comprehension. And it was most of it was beyond my comprehension at the time too. So I had to go through a lot of clearing. Am I crazy? And the wake up path, I called it the path of, I almost named one of my books 20 years ago, which I never put out there, On the Edge of Madness. Because feels like you're gonna fall off. You have to walk like the sword edge in order to stay sane. So some people fall off and end up in mental hospitals, right? I mean, this is high level stuff. This isn't, oh yeah, I'll just learn how to, build a website. This is totally different, because we're expanding our consciousness within human consciousness through dimensions and into galactic dimensions that haven't been here before. And the consciousness of the beings that have been here don't want that. Because consciousness wants, like it's a boogie. So a little boogie into the light, little boogie, little thought forms. Well, when you got a bunch of little thought forms together, you've got a big boogie. And the boogie is it's just a group agreement. Right? So if say you're you're Christian, and you believe totally every word of the Bible. Don't change one word of the Bible. Some idiot stuck that in there. And I'm sure they did that on purpose. And because it has a lot of good stuff in it, but it also has a lot of mind control crap. And so you have this belief system, and these people translate it. So like I can read the Bible and I'm going to translate it up here, but I don't ever read it anymore. The only thing I've ever read mostly is just Jesus' words in the red, the ones that are in red. There's only about 4 pages. Jesus's words are colored in most Bibles. That's the only thing. So, and then, but a lot of the stuff, like, well, I went to a Catholic convent. Don't eat fish on Fridays, don't dance, and all that crap. And I wasn't Catholic, so I've been doing this a long time, standing in these fields, and so there's this mind field of everybody who's in that group. And when you want to leave it, see, you don't really know you're in the group until you start to leave it. And then when you start to leave it, that shit tries to pull you back in. That's like Dante's Inferno, those dark arms grabbing you and trying to pull you back, because they don't want you leaving that group mind, because they want to keep the power. And once you're out of it, you're floating out here, and you're able to look at that mind, and you can see, oh, well, these things are not something for me, and this might not be very expansive, because you're outside the box, and they want to stay in the box. Well, there's so many boxes. There's boxes for everything, like vegetarianism, veganism. Don't have sex, or be this way, be that way. There's just everything's a box. Literally everything's a box, but I am. And so you kind of pick your boxes as you expand. You pick, well, I'm going to move out of this one, and then I'm going to move out of this one. And you just hold the field wherever you are of infinite possibilities. And that actually introduces the concept to the people around you if they're open to it. Otherwise, they'll be pissed at you. But it's painful if you go into, like, I can go into any church now. I went to the Vatican, and I was actually showed up right when the new Pope came up, and one of his first talks. And it was a surprise talk about Obama and doing something to stop a war or something. So he had a surprise thing right when I was there. And then they opened the gates and I went in. So I was up pretty close to the Pope, and like 40 rows back. And there's like 100,000 people there. It was huge. It took forever. I was like, oh my God. Anyway, and then I was interviewed by Swiss TV. They came up and they're like, what do you think about the Pope praying for peace? And do you think he'll be able to change President Obama's mind? And I said, I don't think that anyone can change anyone else's mind, but I do believe that millions of people praying for peace can change the world. And the lady went, oh my God. It was interviewing me on camera. I never could find it because it was in some other language, the interview when they put it on. But that was all orchestrated, right? I didn't do any of that. I didn't consciously set that up. Source set that up, right? There's no way I could have manipulated that. Right. And so but my kids were bitching the whole time. They didn't want to be there. So there was some resistance. Let's go, Mama. We don't want to be here. Let's go. And but there's a lot of things you can look back on in your life and see that were orchestrated to get you into a certain position to hold your light for the world. right? So I was strong enough to be in the middle of that 100,000 people and hold my field that, yes, love does work, and love is the power, and love does work, but I'm not in the, belief system of being a Catholic. So I was able to hold my field, but that took years. That took years. Even doing these took me years to talk about what's real and what's not, to hold my field and put the truth out there to the world, right? Because that part of your mind wants to protect you and keep you safe. And so if you had stuff in your childhood that, like we all did, I was beaten, abused and stuff like that, and we hid, right? We had to hide in order to stay safe. So then when you're like, oh, I'm going to go on YouTube, and your mind's going, yeah, sure you are. It's like, wow. Otherwise she's throwing up or whatever. Like, yeah. So if you just don't judge it, you just go, okay, I'm just getting to the next level. I'll get this clear. I'll clear this out. You don't judge it. It just goes next level, next level, next level. And it'll be okay. Right? It's like I go on Reed, like with Reed, I've gone on and asked him questions and stuff. And I used to, like the first one, I joined in March. So the first one, I was nervous to ask a question and talk to him. And then after that, I'm like, oh, hi, Reed, blah, 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 blah. It's like you can hold the field. So it's not learning. You're not really learning anything new on that level. You're just being more of who you are. See, because he holds a big field, right? Hay House is a big field, spiritual field. So if you have stuff that doesn't let you come up to that, then it's going to come up until you can hold your field there. And that's why they want you to have a big following, social media and stuff. Because you have to work on yourself to be able to put your photo on the back of your book and to be able to go on radio interviews and TV interviews and all that stuff. You have to be able to have that self-confidence is literally your higher self. Did you know that? Because your higher self is totally confident. So you have to embody your higher self in that thing you're doing. And when you have people coming at you, they're all God beings too, so they're projecting their judgments. So the more people you have on who, so like when you're going to do a speech, you'll feel nervousness. Well, nervousness is literally the energy of people's judgments moving through you. And so source energy will increase your energy so that you don't drop your level and just start crying or whatever, right? Because you're going to hold your field with these doing the speech, and then you hold your field. So you have to, like if you're scared or something, if you go into fear, I wouldn't do it. I'd do something else. Start smaller. Start with a smaller group. Like if they invite me on, TV, I'd have to probably go through some nervousness because you've got so many people projecting at you. So you have to hold your field. And then after the speech, when you go home or whatever, then a lot of times your level will drop a little bit. So like you're high and you're feeling great and I'm self-confident, everything, well, because your higher self did your speech. I had this one coach, it was a group where we all had to do a speech and they filmed it. And I was doing a lot of sessions in the middle of this group. You fly in and you hang out with all these 12 people quest. It was real high level. And then you leave and he says, they showed everybody's speeches, and then they showed my speech last, because he goes, and this was just the best speech. And I'm like, and I go, I didn't give that, I just channeled it. That was Archangel Michael. I just channeled the whole thing because I was so nervous. And then when he showed it, I just totally went into my issues and started bawling. It's like, so yeah, it's just part of growing. It's part of expansion. Right now I can do it. So that was 15 years ago, I think. So you just keep moving up. And that's why I admire, like, even if you don't like some people, like actors or whoever, or politicians, I don't really like those, but you have to admire that they can hold their field. They know who they are. Even if you don't agree with who they are, they're able to hold that field with all these people getting mad at them, sending judgment at them. You got to be a pretty strong being to do that. Or else, maybe if you're just so dense, you don't know the difference. Maybe some of them just don't feel anything. Oh, and when you're awake, you know a bunch of stuff. It's like I had my Girl Scout troop, and we was in Kailua Kona, Hawaii, Big Island, and we walk. They have a lot of parades, so we walk in the parade. And we're walking in the parade, and this political dude, I've never heard of him. Well, he's one of the counselors, or I don't know, going to be senator or something. Anyway, he comes up and he starts talking to us, being friendly and talking to us, and then because you're getting ready for the parade, and then we start walking in the parade, and all at once he comes up and starts walking next to me, and I looked at him and I said, "You can't walk with us. Get out of here!" Like, because I could see directly that he was just doing it to show, look, I'm with the Girl Scouts in the parade, so that everybody, all the people on the street would go, "Oh, he's such a good guy, he's with the Girl Scouts." I'd never seen the guy before in my life, right? "You can't walk with us, get out of here." And he's like, "Oh, shit." And then he went and found somebody else he could walk with. Because I could see his game, right? When you're high level, you can see their game. He was not interested in being nice or supporting Girl Scouts or doing anything except for his making himself look good. So when you call people on their shit, right? The higher level you are, the easier it is to call people on their shit. And some of them don't know it. Like, they'll have a mask up and they believe that they're the mask. They totally believe that they're this false personality here. And when you're psychic, you can see right behind it. And so you're addressing the being behind it. And then a lot of them will just start bawling. Like, and that's not calling them on their shit. The guy, this is different. This is like just acknowledging who they are behind the mask. And they'll just start crying because they thought they had to be the mask in order to be loved. And when you're running high self energy, you're loving everyone except for that politician. I lovingly kicked him out of the group. But you're loving everyone. So when you address someone who's behind the mask directly, then a lot of times it's the first time they've ever felt real love. And so your vibration's higher. And then also I have to be a little more picky, not picky. I'm picky, but gentle, right? You're a little more gentle with people. because you realize that a lot of people are fragile, and when you're high level, you can say stuff to them that can blow apart their reality. And you don't want to blow apart people's realities. You want to honor their reality, but maybe give them a little light that they might want to consider this, or you might want to consider that. Because if you go, you should, you want to, that's all mind control. You're controlling their mind. And when you're higher level, you can easily control people's minds. So should is shitting on people. And shitting yourself is shitting on yourself. Oh, I should have done that. Yeah, just shit on yourself. And you will. I've heard people talking, coaches and shit. You will, right? They're putting their will, their mind controlling. I had a resistance for a long time to even tell people to check out my website, click on the link or whatever, because I got to kind of pull my energy back and be gentle with it. Right? Because I've noticed that, I think I told on the last one, like I was at a restaurant with Michael and I said, Michael, I'm thirsty. And the guy next door at the table, can I get some water over here? Instantly. I mean, you'll start noticing things in your reality where, oh, and I had a lady, I stood up on my balcony in Ashland. I lived in Ashland for 6 years or something. And I said, Oregon. And I said, I want to meet that lady because I could see her. She was a house below me. Next day, she was in my yard and she had no idea why. My daughter goes, Mom, there's a strange woman wandering around the yard. I went out there and she goes, is this a street? Is this a road? I go, no, that's my driveway. She goes, I have no idea why I'm here. I go, oh my God, I don't want to do that. So I don't use my finger to like declare anymore. Like, because I want to meet that woman. I don't do that anymore. I want to be gentle. It would be nice to do this. It would be nice to meet that lady. It would be nice, right? Then she was totally in love with me. She was baking me pies and cakes and bringing them over in the morning. And her husband's like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, I'm not really into being your best friend. So I had to kind of gently, I had to cut the cords and everything, right? I had to go, oh, no, I met her. Okay, I'm done. Cut the cords, cut the cords, cut the cords. So I learned to be gentle with my energy. So, but yeah, Sandra's question earlier was, do you still have to, there's still a lot of stuff I'm not clear in that I'm still moving through, right? Getting clearer. So there's some stuff I'm really clear, some stuff I'm still moving into higher levels of it. And that's the case, like there's so many things on this planet to do and be and experience that it's fun. So how are you all feeling? Because my energy will clear you whether we say much about it or not. Because what happens is it's kind of like a higher self party. And your higher self goes, oh, cool, let's do a higher self party. And we all get our higher selves all get in our bodies and we all have a good time. And then that's why it's really good to get a recording, because then after the energy drops, after I release and the energy drops, you go back to your normal level. And then if you feel like crying, cry and everything, because the resistance will come out. Even if you feel like sitting on the pot for 20 minutes, it's like it comes out wherever it can. Let it come out. And then and drink water, drink lots of water, and be gentle with yourself. And then you'll listen to the recording, and somebody could say, well, what did she talk about? And you go, I have no idea. Because you've dropped back to this level, right? But when you're at the level, it's like, oh yeah, I know that. Oh yeah, I know that. Oh yeah, I know that. Because you know it all on a high level. Then when you get that stuff out, you go, oh yeah, I know that. So then you go back to, I know that. Right? And then you get to a higher level, and then you get, and it just continues. And you keep hearing new stuff every time you listen. Because your mind is in a new place. Your consciousness is in a new place. And that's really the work we're doing here on the planet. A lot of people think they think they're here to have a big house or a big car. But then you become a slave to the physical reality. You'll have to leave a message. That's Starfleet calling. I don't know how to silent it and let her leave a message. It'll stop. So I hang up on them, they'll wonder why. So I have Starfleet on here too. I like science fiction. So do you see angels or aliens or spirits or guides or anything? And physically or
I mean, for myself, I've been tapping into the angelic realm for, gosh, like almost 2 decades now, about 2 decades. At one point, I was telepathically communicating, almost like unintentionally, with beings from other spaces, like planets, etc. But I am a little guarded about that, just because it's sort of like humans, where I'm aware they can be at various levels of consciousness, and I may not want to play with them that day, if that makes sense. So I'm more into the angels at this point.
well, angels are aliens. Technically.
In a sense.
Technically, they're not here, right? It's all consciousness. So it depends. If you're feeling high level and happy and you get communications, then it's from a high level channel. But if you're feeling sad and depressed and you get communications, just ignore those. You can
That
tell,
makes sense.
right? And I usually put a clock, like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. So if you have a clock, like the old fashioned clocks, then if it's 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, or 11 o'clock, then that's good. Sometimes the angels are a little bit over here. If it's coming in my ears, 9 o'clock or 3, and it's like in the material plane, right? So you make your own translation, right, of what's high level and what's, but it's always the feeling, is you can tell by the feeling. But
thank you. That's helpful in terms of like the level of agency we have with our consciousness, as a reminder of like different beings. Sometimes I tend to like group them, as I was mentioning, but that goes back to what you're saying, if I may continue to interject, Lisa, just briefly, of like labeling ourselves and others. Like ultimately there I am too. So I could say, well, this is like from the Pleiades, for example, or this is that. Maybe they're not as high level. But at the end of the day too, it's also just consciousness. Like I may not appreciate it if they only labeled me, right? And so there's like a linear and human way to look at it, and then also more expansive. So we can also go back and forth. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, and where would you get the belief that the Pleiades are not as high level? Right? It's like
yeah.
There's all these people channeling stuff, and a lot of it's not that clear, to put it bluntly.
I meant like Pleiadians or another race that may not be
I know, but there's huge belief systems out there that these guys are good, these guys are not, these guys are bad. It's all bullshit. How the fuck would they know? Right? It's whatever channel they're tuned to.
Yeah.
So when they're channeling, if they have a belief that people from Orion are bad because they read it in a sci-fi book or somebody channeled it, then and the Orions try to communicate, then they're going to run it through the filter. Oh, they're bad. Right? So it's all filtered. Everything's filtered by our belief systems. She's around, Sandra's clearing on that one. So anywhere you believed anybody's channeling crap that does not apply to you or what your higher self wants you to know, are you willing to release that?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all how it feels. It's human minds that try to make it into, these guys are higher than these guys are than these guys. I mean, if the way I've translated it, the way I feel about it is usually the highest level is the less specific. That you get like, because sources like everything, it doesn't need to talk to you about the TV or what foods to eat, or I mean, source is just love, right? So it's just flow love, flow love, flow love, flow love, right? It's just like, and then you get into different consciousnesses and they all have their own, a lot of them have their own agendas. So yeah, what's their agenda? And do I want to end up on that reality with that agenda? Right? So some of them have an agenda of galactic contact, which I love galactic contact. I love talking to beings from everywhere and everything. But I also understand everybody, we're all coming from a selfish agenda at a certain point, especially if you have a physical body. But most of the consciousnesses that are communicating here don't have a physical body. And if they're high enough to sit there in their physical body in their realm and communicate with us, they're probably pretty high level. Because you don't see many people here sitting here communicating with, I mean, once in a while. But you have to understand every consciousness is moving up the scale. So even if they're out of their body, they're still translating through their own conscious experience of their thousands and thousands of lifetimes. Right? It's like Abraham-Hicks. They're talking up here a lot. And it's really great and everything, but it doesn't quite get into the material plane in a lot of ways. So if you're high level and clear and you follow Abraham-Hicks teachings, it works easier because you're already clear. And then Seth, you know, Seth speaks. I read Seth every day on Facebook. There's a lady puts quotes. He's very, he was like 50 years ago. The lady Jane Roberts channeled Seth, and he's very, he's had incarnations, and he's very smart and intellectual. And so it's to read his stuff. I sometimes have to read the paragraph 3 or 4 times. And that's why she's putting short paragraphs every day, because it's hard to take him in a book form. And so some of them, it's like if I channel Einstein right now, Einstein is going to be talking to you through my consciousness, and I don't have the vocabulary of math like he did, right? So I can't talk to you about how quantum, well, I can some quantum physics, but not really, because I don't have that background. I don't have that vocabulary. So I don't have that understanding in my consciousness of the mathematics of everything. So that's why the different channels are all bringing in their truths. Like if you want to write a screenplay, there's a lot of master screenwriters on the other side. And I was writing something earlier and I realized Joseph Campbell was coming through me. Right? Because they're there and they're interested in what you're doing. So they can actually work through you. And bring in high level concepts, because they don't, when they're out of their body, they don't have the limitations they did in their body. But they're still going through your system, your filter system. So the clearer you get, the less filters you have, and the clearer the information is. But my thing is to always be able to chunk it down to concepts that people can grasp. Because my partner, Michael, I can still read stuff he wrote. I'm still like, yeah, right, yeah, what? Like, it's like Seth. It's like, and that's why Jesus chunked it down, right? Jesus said, plant your seed in fertile soil. Like, build your house upon a rock. He was talking to farmers and carpenters. So build your house upon a rock means put your faith in God. Plant your seed in fertile soil means if you guys were all like hard-nosed Christians that believed every word of the Bible, none of what I'm telling you would help, because it wouldn't go in. You'd bounce it, right? You couldn't absorb it. That's the fertile ground. And what else he said? Like everything comes out of cat. So everything comes out of a was it a mustard seed you can grow out of? If all these little things, if you look for the
power of the power of a mustard seed. Yeah, thank you.
It's faith or something, right?
Yes. Yeah. Have ye the faith of a mustard seed?
Yeah, because it knows
like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's the one thing. My grandfather made mustard barrels, and he was very religious. And I've thought about that because I was not, but yet.
So that's when you're talking to people who are in the material plane and they're limited concepts, you use their language as much as you can, but you still bring in the higher level concept, right? So that's why I talked about at the beginning about video games. Because you're literally you're playing this character. Like Sandra is your current character, Sue is your current character, Kat is your current character, Monica is your current character, right? So when you start, it's a multi-dimensional understanding of concepts that you end up with, and then everything becomes a lot more fun. And you can see the multi-dimensional levels and the meaning and everything, right? Without judging yourself. So that's what we'll end up with. Is the main thing is don't judge yourself. If you start judging yourself, your tummy's going to crunch, and that's your guidance saying God never judges you, right? Just loves. So if you hear anything that's judgment, that's not source. That's low-level thought forms or old belief patterns. So that as you keep expanding, it gets easier. By the way, I like a lot of what Christianity teaches, just not give your power up to whoever, right? Or even Catholics, give your power to the priest, forgive your sins. Makes no sense. Give your power away. Anybody who wants you to give your power away is trying to control you, right? Give your power away. I mean, it's everywhere here. Politics is all give your power away. This person will represent you. Yeah, right.
Mm.
Yeah, it's all give your power away. So, and stay with what feels right for you in everything you do. I even had like food. I was a vegan for many years, vegetarian, and I felt guilty. Oh, you don't want to hurt animals and all this stuff. And my body started shutting down. And I'm like, well, if God made me and I need to eat animals to stay alive, then I'm going to eat animals and not feel bad about it. Because if your ancestors go through the cold climates, there was no plants growing. If you have European ancestors. So if you had Polynesian ancestors, you could probably be a vegetarian. But so you quit judging it and you start listening to what your body wants and what feels right to you. So thank you. I'll put this on YouTube and I'll send you the link. And if you want a private session, I'm still offering those on my website. And I do have classes that go into this deeper. They're older videos and audios. They're 4 or 5 years old or something, but they're pretty deep. And they get you there. But you can never say that this is the outcome, because everybody's in a different place and they have to do their own work, right? So if you feel guilty because somebody didn't get out of something you're teaching what you wanted them to, all you do is be you and then let them on their own path journey. Right? But if you pull them, like you can actually, what I was talking about earlier, you can actually upset their reality. Because they're not ready for it. That's why the higher level you get, the pickier you are with who's in your groups. Monica smiles on that. So have a great day, ladies, and any gentlemen that listen to the repeats or the replay.
Thank
God
you.
bless. Oh, you're
Thank
welcome.
you very much,
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, I'm gonna do one more next week.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. God bless you all.
Take care. Thank you.